What up, everybody? Today this video is gonna be a banger. Today what we're gonna cover is how to not be boring in a conversation and how to avoid awkward silence, right? And before we actually cover this video, I want you to give this a like before this intro. I'm gonna play the intro right now and you give it a like right now. So a lot of times there'll be situations where you want to talk to someone but you haven't even started a conversation. Let's say a lot of times where you're in a waiting room and somebody comes in and you want to talk to that person but you haven't started a conversation early on, so it's just like you guys sitting in silence and you want to start a conversation. What do? I tell you, you start by making observations. You look bored. You look bored.
Yeah, I am bored.
Now where your phone is on charge and your laptop is on charge.
Yeah. I'm just a bit bored. What about you? Where are you going?
In this case, I made an observation with the girl. I asked her whether she was bored, and she was, because initially she was on her phone with her friend, and then she hung up because her phone was out of battery, and then she actually charged her phone. So I actually decided to actually make a quick judgment and observation and tell her, look, you look bored. In that way, actually, I got the conversation going. And usually this would not work, because if she was doing something on her phone or if she was doing something more interesting, but because she was bored in the first place, she kind of like analyzed the cost-benefit analysis for actually starting a conversation with me. And since she has nothing else to do in the first place, it would have paid off more to talk to me, because talking to me is better than doing nothing. When somebody makes a cost-benefit analysis, benefits can vary. It changes with each person. Here are some benefits to mention. If you're more attractive, talking to you will be more beneficial, will kind of be more rewarding, right? If you're entertaining, talking to you will be more rewarding. If you are intriguing, talking to you would be rewarding, you know? So if something is more rewarding than what they're actually already doing, then anybody will talk to you. Sydney.
Oh.
What about you?
Melbourne.
How?
On the plane.
Yeah, I know that, but like, does that not go to Sydney first, right?
No. I think there might be two flights. Right?
For real?
I think. Yeah, because my flight's going to Melbourne.
What's your flight number? Damn.
CA165.
Yeah, it's two separate flights then.
Yeah. Where did you come from?
I started in Germany, then went to Heathrow, and then came here.
Long
Yeah.
way.
But you came as well, like from Heathrow, isn't it?
Yeah, I came from Yeah, and then it's just been a long journey. I was gonna say Sydney's probably a bit. I don't know what Sydney's like now, but yeah. Because I was worried about going to Australia, but I was told that Melbourne's okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, or like now I'm like it's fine. But obviously the like rural areas are like really bad. Sydney's I think quite bad.
For real?
Yeah, I thought.
I'm at the right place then, shit. So, with any conversation, especially when it's like a confined environment, right? You don't want to come out blazing, because if you come out blazing with all your interesting stuff straight away, you know, trying to impress the person, then all the interesting stuff will be expected non-stop, right? So initially a conversation should technically start off slowly, right? Gradually. Start off boring actually, right? Normal and boring. Don't worry if there's a lot of awkward silence. You want them to be kind of like get used to you, right? If you come up blazing with all your stuff, no conversation starts interesting unless you're a real professional, right? So you want to kind of pace it slowly and have a lot of awkward silences in between, but only reduce the time of the awkward silence, the intervals of the awkward silence, just to make it feel natural, you know, like as if they're getting to know you. Because the awkward silences and the awesome stories that you have kind of contrast each other, right? Because after an awkward silence, a story that is just average will sound awesome, right? Whereas if you continuously saying interesting stuff, normal story will sound boring, like will not sound as awesome because the contrast is not as high. So always kind of like, don't worry about the awkward silences, right? And the time when you want to step up the pace of the conversation is when you get a common ground, right? With that girl, we kind of like talked about England, I believe, and we talked about different things that we connected with, right? And that pace and the fact that we already connected with one thing makes the conversation by default a little bit more interesting, right? The person gets more into it, right? And from that on, any common ground will lock the interest level of the conversation, right? One common ground will make the conversation interesting. So what you want to do is, after each common ground, you want to build on common grounds, right? The more common grounds you have, the more interesting the conversation and the more close you guys get.
Yeah, I'm just really tired.
You didn't sleep at all.
Yeah, pardon?
You didn't sleep at all.
I slept like 3 hours on and off on the plane, and then I had a few naps here. But I'm gonna try and sleep on this flight a little bit, hopefully.
Cool. I slept like a baby, bro. Like literally the whole journey I slept.
Really?
It's like the only thing that kept me a bit awake is my like lower back pain.
I had lower back pain. I don't think the seats are very comfortable.
What side? Both sides? Or just one side?
On the back?
Yeah.
My whole lower back was just hurting.
Made in China, I think the seats, you know?
Probably surprised.
So the next antidote for awkward silence is save your stories for the awkward silences. Note how the conversation feels as though it's flowing, even though there's some awkward silences, and it's not that awkward because I save my stories for the awkward silences. So I don't blast out everything. I kind of like comes to my head. I wait, I chill. I'm a bit more relaxed about it. And then once it's awkward silent for a little bit, I kind of wait out the awkward silence, and then I tell the awesome story, right? Like how I got bitten by a monkey and how I actually had a bad landing in Japan. All of these stories kind of feel as though they're entered naturally. Because what I see a lot of people do is they're trying to kind of like avoid all the awkward silences, so they bang out story after story after story after story. If you front loading like that, not only does that diminish the quality of your content, but at the same time, it kind of makes you feel unease. It makes you feel, like awkward in a way, and then you make the other person also awkward.
I was studying in Malaysia earlier this year, last year. February to July, I was studying over there, but we were travelling around Asia, and we went to Australia as well.
Yeah.
And then I came back, and then this year I'm on a year out from uni.
Yeah.
So I'm going to Australia for a month, and then I'm going home.
What uni did you go to? Sussex, Malaysia.
Yeah. Two very different.
What did you do there? Business. Do you learn anything?
Do I learn? Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. I hate Malaysia.
You hate it?
Not because of the country,
Yeah.
but when I was there, I had like rabies.
You have rabies?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I know, right? So like everything I associate, like everything
Oh,
negative.
that's awful.
Yeah. I got bitten by a monkey in Thailand.
Oh my god.
Really bad.
That is really bad.
So ever since when I hear Malaysia, I was like, But
Fair enough.
at least you liked it.
Pardon?
At least you liked it, so.
Yeah, I loved it. But yeah, I didn't get bitten by any monkeys. I had loads of injections before I left.
Yeah, me too.
You had a rabies jab?
Yeah, that's why I survived, didn't I? They give you like several hours.
Oh, I see. Yeah, no, the rabies jab buys you like time, doesn't it?
Yeah, but the thing is, it buys you only 2 days, and I went to the doctors after 7 days. I know, right?
Oh my gosh. You're gonna die.
Ignorance is stupid, but no, it's all an experience.
Wow. Yeah.
Not something I would
Maybe
want to
not a
go.
good experience. Like this, it's not a good experience here. But afterwards we'll get there and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, you've only got like kind of about. Oh, see, the hours are kind of going past faster now. got
Because we talking.
We've got 7:40, 8:40, 9:40, 10:40, 11:40, 5 hours.
Lastly, transition. When you feel like you have enough rapport, transition into something more personal. Get the person to talk about their personal stuff a bit more. Because first, people love talking about themselves. And second, if they talk about them, they become invested in that conversation, right? And the more invested in that conversation they become, the more they like you. They won't be able to point a finger at it, but that's how it is, right? I'll give you an example. Imagine you worked really, really hard, 9-to-5 job, broke your back, yeah, just to save the money, the little money that you make. And with that money, after 20 years, you buy a really nice Porsche. That Porsche is the dream car of everything you wish, right? And guess what? After driving the Porsche for 4 months, right, you are announced a winner of another Porsche, the exact same model, but just new, right? You had to give one of those cars up. Which one would you give up? I doubt that you would give up the car that you actually worked for, because you have invested all your effort into it, right? The new Porsche in itself, you just didn't do anything, you just got it for free, so you value it less, right? Even though it is more valuable intrinsically, because your old car has like cafe stains, you know, the engine is a bit run out and stuff, right? You still wouldn't trade it because you are emotionally invested in it. And that's what you want to do when you build rapport. Get the person to talk more and more and more in order for them to actually see you as more interesting. It doesn't matter what you say, they will see you as interesting once they're invested in you. And the way you get them invested in you is by actually letting them talk more about themselves. So let me just summarize. Start off slow, start off slow, become more interesting, intriguing, or attractive in order to kind of make people want to talk to you and kind of stop what they're currently doing, so they have like a positive cost benefit analysis, right? Then what you want to do next is use the contrast, embrace the awkward silences to kind of use the contrast, right? So once an awkward silence, a story will sound a lot better after an awkward silence. Whereas if you keep on giving good stories after good stories after good stories, then it's kind of expected and it becomes the new baseline, and the story won't sound as awesome. Next, save your cool stuff for the awkward silences, right? Just to make sure that they sound more awesome, and the awkward silences will start feeling more natural, and the conversation feels as though it's flowing, even though you might feel the awkward silence, the other person might not. And lastly, get the other person to invest in you emotionally by talking about themselves. I hope that helps. Give it a like, subscribe, put on the notification bell, and even if you haven't already, join Discord. I'm gonna put the link down below, and it'd be awesome to have you on board. If anything else, I hope you actually enjoyed this video, and if you have any video requests, do so. Put in the comments below. Let me know what you think about this video, and I'm out.